to Quiet Talking Movies ASMR channel. My name is Matt, and in today's video I'd actually like to talk about the film called Napoleon. Now, if you clicked on this video thinking that I'm going to be doing an unboxing and talking about Ridley Scott's recent epic Napoleon with Joaquin Phoenix, you might be a bit disappointed because that's not it. What I actually have in hand here, and I've recently seen, is a 1927 biographical film called Napoleon, directed by Gons. It's touted as one of the most important films ever made, and definitely one of the most important films from the silent era, and for a couple of very good reasons. But I'm going to get to that later. So as you can see, I already have this film, out of the cellophane. But here's a short video with me unwrapping the film, including a little bit like a walkthrough on what it actually is from the outside. So see you in a bit as I unwrap it, and I'll see you very soon. with the unboxing out of the way, let me tell you first what it is that I actually have in my hands, because I think before I actually dive into the particulars of the release, as well as my comments, I'd actually like to give you a bit of a background to what the film is. So, at around 1927, when Albagon was actually directing Napoleon, he actually had in mind depicting the whole life of Napoleon. And his idea was to create a series of films which would actually take us on a journey of basically journey together with Napoleon's reign, rise to power, as well as later failures and losses, and he wanted these films to be as historically accurate as possible. And what he had in mind is creating films which would actually be very long, very accurate, and very detailed indeed. So when his first production started for this film, Napoleon, he still had in mind the fact that he wanted to do 6 of those films. Unfortunately, he didn't get to make those. So this Napoleon is the only version of the film that we're actually able to see. Nonetheless, it's still worth it. The reason why he actually wasn't able to actually make more of these movies was the fact that the production took so much effort that basically Abel's Guns was kind of like, discouraged from making more of these films. He created a silent epic, and I really mean epic. This film is 5.5 hours long. Let me repeat that. 5.5 hours long. It's 333 minutes long. And it goes into very minute details of Napoleon's life from the very young age up until his first military campaign against Italy. And within those 5.5 hours, we actually get to experience Napoleon's upbringing, his life in school, and we get to actually see him as a very young lieutenant in the French army. We get to see him coming back to Corsica, as well as later escaping from Corsica. We get to see Napoleon being a part of the revolution, talking together with Robespierre, with Marat, and I want to say Dante, but it's not Dante, Danton, with Danton and a couple of other people. We get to see him defending the convention, which would bestow upon him the title of the chief of, chief of the army, essentially, which makes him almost like a leader of France, because of the fact that they haven't had elected anyone. And later, in the meantime, we get to see Napoleon's infatuation with Josephine, and that brings us almost to the end of the film, where we actually get to see Napoleon launching his first military campaign, and that all happens within 5.5 hours. And let me tell you, this is a lot. There's a lot that I actually haven't even talked about that is still happening in that film. So That being said, let me give you a quick glimpse into what this British Film Institute edition is and what it actually has. So it's a Blu-ray release with 3 discs inside, and because the film is actually split into 3 discs, so we do not actually get any Blu-ray extras disc. This film itself is on 3 discs. It's so long, essentially. And we got the BFI logo over here. And what I actually love about this is the fact that BFI went to the extent of creating a slipcover for it. So we don't usually get slipcovers for releases from BFI. At least anymore. BFI's new releases are essentially a carnival case, a full slip carnival case. So here's the slipcover. It is, at least in my edition, it's a very tight fit, so I might have had a couple of troubles actually getting it out. As you can see, the front cover is the same on the slipcover and the plastic case. What we have here is essentially a still and an image from the film with Napoleon. I believe he's pointing towards Italy by the end of the film. And we got this red color, which really invokes the kind of like tinted scenes that we actually see in the film, especially the military ones. Yeah. So that's the slipcover, but let me actually talk and give you a bit of more information on what we actually have here. So we have Abel Gons's revolutionary silent epic, Napoleon. What we have here is music by Carl Davis with restoration by Kevin Brownlow. And instead of film reviews by newspapers, we actually get a couple of quotes, including Stanley Kubrick and Martin Scorsese. It is an older release. As you can see, the parental guidance logo is in the old style. Here's the spine, and then the BFI logo, the title, the parental guidance logo, Blu-ray, and then it's clear on this not internal, I wanted to say the inside spine. Okay, so let's just go through what we actually have on the back. It looks like so. So we have here The Measure of All Other Films Forever by LA Times. We have the information. It's Napoleon, a film by Abel Gons, music composed and conducted by Carl Davis. And that's, I think, quite important to note. I have seen a couple of films with music composed by Carl Davis already. Some of them were actually the Harold Lloyd silent films, including The Freshman as well as Safety Last. So if you haven't seen my videos on those two, feel free to actually reach out there on my channel. And let me tell you that the music by Carl Davis in this film is really spectacular. What he did is essentially he composed 5.5 hours of music for this film specifically, which is really really special and really difficult to do, obviously. And as I've actually seen one of the extras on these discs, he actually did this within 3 months, I believe. Yeah. So even though the film is a silent film, we do have music in it. So let me perhaps whisper to you the description as we have on the back. Marking a new chapter in the history of one of the world's greatest films, the release of Abel Gance' Napoleon is the culmination of a project spanning 50 years. Digitally restored by the BFI National Archive and Academy Award-winning film historian Kevin Brownlow, this cinematic triumph is available to experience on Blu-ray for the very first time. That's really important. Originally conceived by Gance as the first of 6 films about Napoleon, this 5.5-hour epic features full-scale historical recreations of episodes from his personal and political life that see Bonaparte overcome fierce rivals and political machinations to seal his imperial destiny. Utilizing a number of groundbreaking cinematic techniques, Napoleon is accompanied by Carl Davis's monumental score, newly recorded in 7.1, and offers one of the most thrilling experiences in the entire film history. So that's essentially what we have, a blurb on the back. We do get a couple of small screens from the film. And we do get a couple of nice special features in here as well. So we get the new 2K restoration. We get The Charm of Dynamite, a documentary, I think, from 1968 with Kevin Brownlow, or by Kevin Brownlow. No, sorry. It's a BBC documentary on Gance's silent films narrated by Lindsay Anderson. Okay. We get Composing Napoleon, an interview with Carl Davis, recorded in 2016, and it's 46 minutes long. Feature-length commentary by Paul Cuff. We get Napoleon digital restoration featurette, 5 minutes. We get stills and special collections gallery. We get alternative single screen ending. We get individual triptych panel presentations. We also get a 36-page booklet with writing by Paul Cuff, Kevin Brownlow, and Heather DeMoore, an interview with Carl Davis, and full film music and restoration credits. Alright, so a couple of technical details in here as well. So the film is made in France in 1927. It is in black and white, although we do have a couple of tinted and toned scenes. So there are a couple of scenes which are actually having an imposed color, such as red. We have a lot of blues, especially for the night scenes. We have a couple of scenes which are in pink. We have a couple of scenes like in brownish yellow. So there's a couple of tinted scenes in here, despite of the black and white, which is the standard and usual, and that is actually throughout the film. The film is silent, but we have English intertitles. So there's no translations here. It's basically English intertitles. As I mentioned, it's 332 minutes long, and which actually brings me to the fact that it is a really daunting, perhaps, endeavor to go and watch this film. If you see that this film's runtime is 5.5 hours, you might actually say, oh, I might actually spend this time in a different way. So what I did, and I think a lot of people probably do the same thing, is I tried to watch this film over a couple of days. So I've watched the first part, which is 2 hours long, on one day. Then I've seen the second and third part, which is 3 hours long, on the second day. And I've seen the last part of the film, which is 50 minutes long, along with the extras on the third day. So it took me essentially 3 days to watch this film fully. But I think it's a recommended experience, especially for a film with a runtime such as this, because to watch this film 5.5 hours straight up, I'm not sure whether that's actually a satisfactory experience, to be honest. Alright, so what else do we have? We have the information that the original aspect ratios were 1.33 to 1 and 4 to 1 for the triptych scenes. So let me stop here for a moment. So the film, because of how revolutionary it actually is, Gons decided to create a scene using 3 cameras. So he placed 3 cameras along a landscape to create a huge landscape scenes, kind of like a widescreen. And obviously, you know, in those times they weren't shooting like with Panavision or anything, and that were widescreen. So in order to actually present the grandeur of some of the scenes, he put 3 cameras along a ridge, and he was shooting them all 3 at once, and later they actually combined the 3 stills and images together to create one particular scene, which is a very interesting and one of a kind experience, definitely. Alright, so what else? We get the Blu-ray 50GB discs 3 times. As I said, the film is actually spent on 3 discs, with a 7.1 DTS HD master audio soundtrack, which is for the film, and as well we also get the lossless PCM stereo soundtrack as well, for those who don't want to have the surround sound. And we get the PG rating because of mild battle violence. Right, so let us actually go through some of the things that we get inside. I'm not gonna spend too much actually on the disc here, because the presentation is essentially the same as the slipcover, both when it comes to the front cover, the spine, as well as information on the back. It's all the same. So let me open it up. So because we have the film on 3 discs, we actually get a tray inside for each of the. So each of the discs is actually placed differently. So as you can see, the discs, which I already mentioned, they're 50GB. They're actually splitting the film into acts. The film itself is split into acts, so it's fine. Then we get Act 1 on the first disc. We get Acts 2 and 3 on the second disc. And we get Act 4 on the third disc, which also features most of the extras. And I'm saying most because some extras are actually featured on the individual discs of the previous acts as well, but not too much. Just I think like individual triptych scenes. So as I mentioned, like you have the triptych scenes. So each of the discs is actually presenting one side of the triptych. So for example, Act 1 disc features the left panel of the triptych. The Acts 2 and 3 disc is presenting, I believe, the center panel. And the Act 4 disc is featuring the right panel. But yeah, as the synopsis actually suggested, we also get a booklet. It is a 36-page booklet, looking like so. It's on a glossy paper. So we get here from the onset we actually get a write-up by Paul Cuff about his history of making of the film. A couple of pages of that. We get an essay by Kevin Brownlow himself, who's telling a short story on how he came upon the Napoleon film in order for him to restore it. As you can see, it's a short one. We also have an essay by Heather Dumont about the Napoleon on film, which is talking about essentially a lot of films which feature Napoleon. We get some of the credits. We also get an interview with Carl Davis, also printed out. There's an interview on the discs, like a video interview, but we also get a short interview in here as well. Here's one of the scenes. I think this is a scene of when Napoleon, not pictured, maybe no, here's Napoleon, is essentially escaping Corsica. We get the credits about from the music. We get write-up and information on the special features. And we get a lot of information about the restoration itself, which is really cool, by the way. And we get some acknowledgements. So yeah, that's pretty insane. When it comes to the inside, it's kind of like disappointing. I don't really like it when they do this, but essentially the inner cover, inner artwork is reserved for just, what's also unavailable in BFI, which I don't really like it. If I want to have a film, one specific film, I actually want something which is film specific, not advertisements on the other films. I think Arrow Video is at least putting like a small leaflet which you can essentially throw away if you want to. But I'm not gonna throw away the camera, right? Okay, so that's all you can actually get in Napoleon. Alright, so that would be that. Pass it away. Okay, so just a couple of ending comments in regards with Napoleon. I really liked it. If you take into consideration the fact that it was made in 1927, the scale and grandeur and the epic feeling that you actually get from watching this film is really uncomparable to anything else, beyond probably the silent epics such as The Thief of Baghdad or Intolerance from D.W. Griffith. So that's one of the things that basically allure you to this film. At the same time, this film is really revolutionary for a couple of reasons, including, among others, obviously the triptych scene, which hasn't been done before, as well as the editing. Really, the editing in this film is something really extraordinary, and for the times it was made, it's really, how to call it, groundbreaking in a way. I think this film is really paving the way to probably the French New Wave in terms of what the editing really did, because there's a lot of scenes with really fast, rapid cuts, which make sense at the same time. It's not that the cuts don't make sense. They really make sense, and they create a sort of very rapid picture. Which actually brings me to another point, is the fact that despite the runtime of 5.5 hours, there's really no room for boredom in here. There's always something happening. There's always something that really delves you into the picture. Either by great performances, or by music by Carl Davis, or, as I said, the super fast editing in the action sequences. There's a lot that is actually happening in this film, which, with the runtime of 5.5 hours, it's really worth it. So yeah, I really like this film. I'm going to put a link in the description to my Letterboxd review if you're actually interested. Just actually providing a little bit more into my overall response to the film. But yeah, that's a film that I've actually seen recently. That's Gonz's Napoleon. Alright, well, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to get back to watching some films, and I'm going to present them as I go moving forward. But yeah, if you like this video, please give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe if you want, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Thank you.